Okay, Andre, but sharing your experience with us.
Hello, my name is Andre Tabayoyon, and I was in the organization for approximately 22 years. I encountered this organization when I returned from Vietnam in 1970, I believe, and it was pretty much the same deal that Lisa went through, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. I think the very important part that... hi, Ian. Haven't seen you for many years. That was a young man who's...
Are we going to have y'all escorted out one by one? I mean, or do y'all want to go out?
His name, by the way, is Ian Shillington. We spent about... Ian Shillington.
His what?
He and I spent about 3 years in the Scientology gulag called the RPF.
Okay, let me do this.
I didn't say a word. He just looked at me and says, should I ask you to leave?
I returned from Vietnam, and very, very honest, I'll be honest with you, I was very confused. I didn't know up from down or anything. I had people spitting on me because I had an American uniform on. Hey, I don't know. So now it comes out that it was a wrong war. Okay? So, anyway, I was talked to, told I had problems. One of the techniques that are used, I believe it's still being used, it's called a dissemination drill. And this consists of basically finding out what is troubling you in your day-to-day life. What is the most thing that bothers you in your day-to-day life? That is plucked out, re-shown to you, and told to you that you can handle that through the use of technology of Scientology and Dianetics. Fair enough? So we went through it. Felt better. I didn't feel so bad about the people who I had ended their lives in violation of the Lord's commandment. I felt that Scientology could help me, rid me of the feeling of the ending of another human life. And in 22 years, it hasn't. Because it still hurts. Okay? I was promoted here as a very violent person, someone who had done things to my subordinates. Basically, I was a head, sort of like a taskmaster person, and given orders to make ridiculous, unfounded timetable targets to get a building built. So, in that light, and I was promoted because I worked hard or whatever as a taskmaster. Anyway, so I was promoted to do that. There was also said that when I came here that there are people in that building or wherever it is, Scientology building, that fear for their lives because I'm coming into this town. And this was told to the chief of police. And okay, fine. I don't know why. There's also a story that I threatened to kill my son's wife, chop her up, and feed her to coyotes. That was a manufactured story by Kurt Whalen, who is now in Germany trying to reestablish the Church of Scientology as a religion, because in Germany they're not a religion, they're a trade. Their business is money, persecution, and so forth. Files of magnitude exist on this. I don't have to dwell into it. That was another thing. That has been and always has upset me when I read that letter. I told them when I left to just leave me alone and I'll leave them alone. No. What happens? My son starts writing these hate letters to his mother. I hate you, Mom. I hate what you're doing to me, to my religion.
Explain that he's a Scientologist. His son is a Scientologist.
Oh, excuse me. My son is a Sea Org member, born into the Sea Org. He's been there for his entire life. He has done the Children's RPF, a gulag for children, which exists. If the children are not conforming to the thought reform practices of Scientology, already documented, I don't have to go into it. My son, on various occasions, has serviced senior executives such as the commanding officer of the Commodore's messenger organization of the International Network of Scientology. He was his little servant. And so, anyway, I'll go back to that Vietnam stuff and where I was brought into the church. I was in the church for maybe 6 months. I'd experienced how much financial money I was going to need to do the levels and all this, the OT stuff and so forth. And I couldn't afford it. There was no way. There was no way I was going to have that kind of money. So there were some recruiters, Sea Org recruiters in the area, and they offered me the deal of the lifetime. You can have your training free. You can have your auditing free. Just make this contract with us. And it was a $1 billion year contract. I survived Vietnam. I was helped by someone that we know very well here. Someone who has existed through time, on and on. That was Jesus Christ. He saved me from Vietnam, the treachery, the murder, you know? Years I spent in the Church of Scientology only to find myself denying the existence of God and denying the existence of Jesus. When I was told my wife had an abortion and she wasn't doing well in the hospital in Riverside, I asked my senior if I could go see her. No, you need to make your targets. You're behind target, and ethics is pending.
Don't respond to him.
Now, what ethics means is I'm going to be punished because I haven't made the required targets. I am going to have to undergo some kind of social indignity in the eyes of the other members. I am going to be persecuted, and I am going to be probably put away on the RPF in some place where no one can find me. Great. But my wife still is not doing well, and she's in Riverside, and she just had an abortion, and she doesn't feel well. Can I go see her? No. great. And then, I think it was the next day or so forth, I'd been up for a couple of days already. Hey, somebody stole a container. You know what a container is? 40 foot by 8 foot, huge metal container that had some files in it and old archival stuff, nothing valuable, nothing of any value at all. Well, this was fuel for a huge fire in the eyes of the executives, mainly David Miscavige, mainly Mark Yeager, mainly his ethics people over there. That was a huge fire. That was like, ooh. I was taken to his office, accused of the largest security breach in the entire history of Scientology. And at that point I said, well, my wife is in pain in Riverside. I'm not going to take it anymore. And I need help. And I asked Jesus, what do I do? You know what he said to me? Jesus says, go to your wife. She needs you. I left. Now, the Church of Scientology will swear, document, and write all the crimes that I have committed. And it was because of those crimes that I left the church. All the bad things that I did. I operated a backhoe for a couple of years. I dug some trenches that weren't right. I helped recruit some people into the church. You know, I helped at the Portland Crusade in Los Angeles. In Los Angeles, I did the crusade as well. I helped them from my heart because I believed what they were doing. I believed in what they were saying. And I thought L. Ron Hubbard was a good man. But during the trials in Los Angeles, I became aware of some very shocking information that I'd never known in my whole entire existence in Scientology. And I tell you, to find out that someone that you really thought was good was not so good, and you had just donated many years of your life.
Started jobs. Tell me about what jobs you did.
I donated a lot of my life to Scientology. 20 years. In that time, I did construction work, which is Mr. Kurt Whalen's written reports to many newspapers. I did recruitment. I did counseling. I helped with financial matters at one point. I worked personally. Hey, here's something. I worked personally with Ron Hubbard. I knew the man personally. I was his butler. I was a little dog, is what I was. When I did good, he rewarded me. When I did bad, he punished me. And it was a constant complaint about dust, about this, about that, because he's so sensitive. You know, if he's so sensitive, you know, I don't know. And I continued to take it because I thought Ron Hubbard was God. And I had elevated him to that position because I believed in what he said. I believed him when he told me he went into battle and he fought. I believe that. I thought he was a great man. Yeah, we both shared experiences about war and stuff like that, and I come to find out he never had a minute of combat in his life. He doesn't know the meaning of the word. Here we go. Anyway, it was my personal experience to find out that it never occurred. So I was his butler, did his laundry, washed his clothes, made sure his meal was on the table. Oh, just on and on. You know, little slave Andre running back and forth. Had to make timetables if it wasn't right. Get a new shirt. The pants weren't pressed right. Get a new pair of pants. The shoes had dust on them. Get a new dust. Oh, my God, he can't produce. You're the cause. L. Ron Hubbard has not produced today because you, Andre, did not have his clothes in proper order. So for that kind of stuff, I had to go off his post and work in a gulag, so to speak, on the ship, where I was put in what is known as a chain locker, where the anchor chain is stored. I was there for many, many hours until I realized who I really was. And every time I said I was a person who wanted to leave, that was the wrong answer. The right answer was, I am a Thetan. I am a Thetan. I am God. I can do anything forever. I am a Thetan. So, when I had that realization, I was released. Other jobs I did, I was in charge of training missionaries. Missionaries are people who go out and spread the word or fix up a church if it's in trouble. Like say that Scientology's money isn't as expected. Or there aren't as many people coming to the church as there were last week. Oh, I did that. And I did that for, I don't know, 6-7 months. And then it wasn't as expected as the standard required by Ron Hubbard, because he was on the ship. So I was removed from the post, and I was allowed to continue service as long as it was in the form of messed work or slave labor on the ship in international waters, untouchable by any authority. So I did it. I was thankful and grateful for the chance to continue on. I was relieved that I wasn't thrown off the ship at a port and left to my own means, which is one of the threats, which was very, very, it happened to you on the ship. If you didn't do good on the ship, you go to a port, they say, okay, you're not doing so good, so you're going to be offloaded. Fitness boarded and offloaded, thrown out. And you're off in Morocco or Portugal or Spain or someplace like that. And if you're out there and you only have the passport and you don't have any money, what are you going to do? A lot of guys went to the embassy. Some guys went to I shouldn't say a lot because I don't know very many instances of people leaving like that. Anyway, so I was very thankful. I got to get leftovers of food. I got to eat leftovers. At the end of every meal, I'd go to the back, the little place in the ship where they kept all the leftovers, and I asked the cook, could I? And he goes, yeah, go ahead. And I did. So that was that job. And then it got more sophisticated. He invented new experiential methodology for the practice of mind. Oh, the Scientologists aren't going to like this. And mind control. Insidiously given to you. You don't even know what's happening. But 22 years later, here I stand. I didn't know what happened most of the time in this Sea Org. But, you know, this was called a Flag Executive Briefing Course. It's all documented in law trials. I'm not going to go into what it does. But that's the name of it. You can buy it over here if you're wanting to learn how to manage an organization and make it bigger. They have an organization called Sterling Management. And you can go there and learn how to manage organizations. And I'm sorry? Oh, I was just telling... Oh, never mind. Anyway, back to mind control. Thank you. You reminded me. I almost went off. Thanks. So, in the area of mind control, this new executive briefing course had to be delivered instantly. But before you could do the Flag Executive Briefing Course at Flag, you had to go through a very intense period of indoctrination. You were brought to the ship Apollo. You were put into what my organization, the little organization I had on the ship, called the Missionary Unit. There you were audited, but this is a different kind of auditing. This is called confessional auditing, security checking, where all your misdeeds are requested. They want your misdeeds to know what you did. And what is your actual purpose for coming to the Flag Executive Briefing Course? We've already forgotten that. We ordered everybody up, but now you're there to do something. So I had about 25 or 30 people, and they were all put through these programs and audited this way and audited that way, and if they were okay, they went to the actual course. If they didn't do good, they had to go to what is known as a DEC project force, where you learn that working with your hands in a physical capacity would bring about a change in your spiritual beingness. And the work consisted of basically scrubbing down the paint on the side of the ship, painting it, washing the decks of the boat, going down into the bilges and cleaning out the bilges. Real dirty work, But this was done not as a punishment, but more as a way to prove that you were really part of the group. You really are a part of the group. You really want to contribute, because it's very important as a group member in Scientology that you are able to produce in the same capacity as your peers and at the request of your seniors, those above you. If you can't, well, then there's a problem. You're not going to get the targets done. People are going to get upset. There's going to be just ethics. There's going to be justice. There's going to be anti-socials. There's going to be this. There's going to be that. On and on and on. So this mind control starts there. Pray for her, please. She's actually good-hearted. She's a good person. All of the Scientologists, don't get me wrong, every one of the Scientologists that I've met and worked with are good people. But Lucifer doesn't care. He will come to you dressed up as a lamb and eat your heart as any vicious wolf would. I guarantee you, it will pass that way if you let this continue. Anyway, I'm going to take a break here. And we're going to have a part of a video shown here. And then I'll continue or do what the next part of the program is.
Good. Sorry.
You're good. That's great.